The grand ballroom sparkled with dazzling chandeliers, their golden glow spilling across the polished marble floor. Guests in expensive gowns and tailored suits mingled, laughter bouncing off the high ceilings like a chorus of pride and privilege. Yet in one quiet corner stood a small child, her posture uncertain, her hands trembling above the glossy keys of a grand piano. Her dress was plain, her shoes worn thin, but her eyes carried a fire and unshakable determination that seemed almost out of place. In such a glittering whirl, the sound of laughter stung her ears, every chuckle reminding her of how little she belonged in this room. Then the voice of the host, deep, confident, dripping with arrogance, rang out. He was a wealthy magnate known for his sharp tongue and sharper smile. Mocking her, he boomed, "Play for us, little one. Impress me, and perhaps I'll take you under my wing." The guests roared with laughter, treating his words as a joke. But for the girl, those words were a promise, a fragile thread of hope that her heart clung to desperately. Her name was Alara, just 7 years old. She had endured hardships no child should face. Orphaned as a toddler, she had known hunger, neglect, and rejection as constants. Yet hidden among the ruins of her young life was her secret treasure, music. She had discovered an old piano in a forgotten wing of an orphanage, its ivory keys chipped and yellow with age. The first time she touched them, a shaky note echoed, imperfect but alive, and she felt as if the world had spoken back to her. From then on, music became her language, her only way to pour out the storm of feelings too big for words. Now, standing in front of strangers who viewed her as a spectacle, her chest tightened with doubt. Did she deserve to sit here at all? Before this flawless piano beneath glittering lights, the man who had taunted her, Victor Hale, a billionaire admired and feared in equal measure, watched with a smirk. His reputation for arrogance followed him like a shadow. He relished mocking those weaker than himself. To him, this was no more than a cruel game to entertain his guests. Alara, however, saw it differently. For her, this was a chance that could change everything. She lowered her small hands to the keys. The first note stumbled out unevenly, and someone in the audience snickered. Victor leaned back, smug, convinced his joke was proving successful. But then Alara closed her eyes. She shut out the chandeliers, the sharp laughter, the piercing eyes. She imagined herself back at the orphanage, alone with the broken piano, letting her heart guide her fingers. This time, the melody that emerged was raw and untrained, but achingly beautiful. Each note carried fragments of her soul, loneliness, longing, fragile hope. The sound silenced the crowd. One by one, the guests stopped whispering, their laughter fading into stillness as the child's music wrapped around them like a spell. Her body swayed gently as she played, eyes still closed, each imperfect note soaked with sincerity. And for the first time in years, Victor's smirk faded. He leaned forward, something stirring deep within him, something he had buried long ago beneath wealth and pride. Memories of his own mother, who once played the piano for him before she passed away, rushed back. Vulnerability was a feeling he had long rejected, but Alara's music cracked the walls he had built around his heart. When the final note faded into silence, the entire ballroom held its breath. No one dared move. No one dared speak. Alara opened her eyes, her small frame trembling, and looked straight at Victor. For a moment, she wasn't just a scared child, she was a brave spirit demanding to be seen. Victor's throat tightened. He wanted to dismiss her, to laugh and carry on with his joke, but no words came. Slowly, he rose to his feet, his eyes burning with emotions he hadn't felt in years. The crowd erupted into thunderous applause, but Victor barely heard them. All he could see was the fragile girl, hands resting on the piano, waiting for his answer. The room buzzed with applause, yet Victor barely noticed. The child stood there, trembling yet resolute, waiting for something far greater than claps, waiting for a decision that could change her life. The guest expected another witty remark, another cruel dismissal, but Victor felt the weight of his own words pressing down on him. He stepped forward, his polished shoes echoing across the marble floor. Each step seemed to strip away a layer of pride, leaving him raw and uncertain. When he reached the piano, he knelt until his eyes were level with hers. The girl's wide gaze met his, filled with fear and fragile hope. "You've given me something no wealth could ever buy," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "From this day forward, you will never stand alone again." For a moment, the world seemed to stop. Alara's eyes filled with tears, and in that instant, she truly believed that she had found a place where she belonged. The guests, erupted once more in cheers, though this time it was not for the spectacle, but for the sincerity of what they had just witnessed. Victor wrapped his arms gently around her, and Alara clung to him, as though afraid the moment might vanish like a dream. Yet this was no dream. It was the beginning of something real. But life after that night was not simple. Adoption carried trials of its own. Victor faced mocking questions from associates and whispers from friends who believed he had gone soft. A man of power and wealth had no need, they said, to burden himself with a child. Yet Victor no longer cared. For the first time in decades, he had a purpose beyond numbers and possessions. Alara, too, had her struggles. The scars of her past did not disappear overnight. She carried fears that sometimes surfaced in the quiet hours of the night. But Victor's patience, though imperfect, never wavered. He learned to sit with her during storms of doubt, to remind her she was safe, and slowly, she began to heal. The piano remained her sanctuary, but it was no longer a lonely one. She played for him often, her music filling their home with warmth. Sometimes Victor would sit beside her, fumbling awkwardly with the keys until they both burst into laughter. In those moments, they weren't a billionaire and an orphan, they were simply family. Months slipped into years, and their bond only grew stronger. Victor discovered that real wealth was not measured in bank accounts or business deals, but in the love we give and the lives we touch. Alara discovered that even the most broken heart can find family in the most unexpected places. Together, they built a life rooted in trust, redemption, and music that echoed through their days. The grand halls of Victor's mansion no longer felt cold. They rang with melodies of laughter and love. And Alara, once a trembling child mocked in a ballroom, became the heart of a home she could finally call her own. This story is a reminder that kindness is never wasted, that compassion can heal wounds money never could, and that even the hardest hearts can be softened by love. If this story touched you, take a moment to share it, so others may be reminded that no matter how harsh the world may seem, love always finds a way to rewrite destinies.